Why do highly capable individuals still fail in competitive environments? Why do well-funded startups lose to smaller, more adaptive competitors? And why does superior strength so often fail to guarantee success? Across economics, game theory, and strategic management, one pattern consistently emerges. Failure is rarely caused by a lack of resources, but by the absence of structured pre-decision analysis. More than 2,500 years ago, Sun Tzu opened The Art of War with a chapter called The Estimates, not as mysticism and not as philosophy, but as an early structured framework for strategic comparison under uncertainty. In modern terms, it closely parallels elements of game theory, competitive strategy, and risk-based decision models used in business and policy today. Sun Tzu begins with a simple premise. War is a matter of vital importance to the state. It is the realm of life and death. In modern strategic language, this refers to high-stakes decision environments, where outcomes are irreversible and uncertainty is significant. From the perspective of decision theory, this aligns with a key principle. When stakes are high and uncertainty is present, unstructured or emotional decision-making significantly increases the probability of failure. Research in behavioral economics consistently shows that a large proportion of strategic failure, whether in business, career, or investment, does not come from lack of capability, but from impulsive, unmodeled decisions made without prior evaluation of risks and constraints. The first principle of strategic thinking, then, is simple. High-stakes actions require structured pre-analysis. Sun Tzu introduces 5 core variables for pre-conflict evaluation: Tao, heaven, earth, command, and method. In modern terms, these can be interpreted as 5 dimensions of strategic modeling. First, alignment, Tao. This refers to internal coherence, the degree to which individuals or organizations share a consistent objective function. In modern organizations, misalignment of goals is one of the most common sources of inefficiency and failure. Second, external environment, heaven. This represents macro-level conditions, economic cycles, technological shifts, and industry timing. No competitive system operates independently of its environment. Third, positioning, earth. This refers to structural advantage, how resources and capabilities align with market conditions. In modern strategy, this closely resembles competitive positioning frameworks, such as those developed in industrial organization theory. Fourth, leadership quality, command. This reflects the capability of decision-makers under uncertainty, their judgment, discipline, and ability to process incomplete information. Fifth, systems and execution, method. This represents operational structure, the ability to transform strategy into repeatable, scalable processes rather than ad hoc execution. Taken together, these 5 dimensions form a structured way to evaluate competitive readiness before action is taken. Sun Tzu further proposes a comparative evaluation between opponents, a structured pre-competition model. Rather than relying on intuition, this framework emphasizes systematic comparison of key strategic variables before engagement. In modern terms, this resembles pre-decision modeling in game theory, where outcomes depend on the relative structure of competing systems, not just individual strength. A key insight emerges here. The more complete the pre-competition analysis, the higher the probability of making a rational and effective strategic decision. In contrast, decisions made without structured comparison tend to rely on assumptions rather than data, increasing the likelihood of failure in competitive environments. Another important principle in the estimates is the role of uncertainty and strategic behavior. In modern language, this is best understood as information asymmetry and signal management. In competitive environments, actors rarely reveal their full intentions in advance, not because of deception in a moral sense, but because revealing complete strategic information reduces optionality and weakens competitive positioning. Game theory describes this as a signaling problem. Agents continuously manage what information is revealed, when it is revealed, and to whom. This concept is widely observed in modern markets. From technology firms managing product roadmaps to startups operating under competitive pressure in emerging industries. This framework can be observed across multiple historical and modern cases. In 1812, Napoleon's Russian campaign demonstrated a failure in environmental modeling. Despite overwhelming military superiority, the campaign underestimated critical external variables, particularly climate conditions and logistical constraints. From a modern strategic perspective, this reflects incomplete environmental constraint analysis. In the corporate world, Kodak serves as a widely studied example of innovation inertia. The issue was not technological awareness, but delayed adaptation to structural shifts in the industry, particularly the transition from analog to digital imaging. In today's AI industry, similar patterns are visible. Large organizations compete in capital-intensive foundational model development, while many smaller firms fail by replicating identical strategies without differentiation. In contrast, more successful smaller teams tend to operate in niche domains, where structural constraints become advantages rather than limitations. The opening chapter of The Art of War can be interpreted as an early framework for structured strategic comparison under uncertainty. It does not eliminate risk, but it improves decision quality by forcing explicit evaluation of key variables before action. Across warfare, business, and technological competition, one principle remains consistent. Outcomes are shaped more by pre-decision structure than by execution alone. In competitive environments, success is rarely determined at the moment of action, but long before it begins.